Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to ReZero Season 2, Episodes 10 through 13, the final 4 episodes of the first core of ReZero, Season 2. It's complicated. See, when ReZero Season 2 came out, I assume because of COVID and everything, it was split up into 2 releases, the first core and the second core. They were separated by release, so there's kind of like a mid-season break, basically. Now, we're going to be kind of doing the same thing on the channel. We're going to be taking a break after the end of the first core here, and before we get to the second core. And it's not just because the series did the same thing. It's also because I do want to get to other stuff as well. And admittedly, while I'm enjoying this, especially a lot more after last episode, this arc has been grating on me, to say the least. It's definitely been, in my opinion, the weakest arc of the series so far. The only big, like, really notable positive I have with it is the witches. Well, and the introduction of, what's her name? Oh my gosh. I hate that when I can never remember the characters' names. The Gar's sister. God, what is her name? We don't see her enough for me to remember her name. That's the thing. I love her character, but we don't see her enough. Elsa's return was good too, but I think it starts with a B. I don't know. Elsa's return was good too, but at the same time, it's like just for the most part, this arc has been really slow and grating and just not as entertaining as anything from the first season. Though last episode did excite things a little more with the introduction of more witches, as well as Satella herself finally making her true debut. So that's fun. That's fun. But we have 4 more episodes to go. And the reason I'm deciding to do these all in one video is because we're already finishing off a couple things this week. I think it's just like, let's just push it all to this week so we can kind of have a fresh start next week on multiple things, so we don't have to keep changing every week or two. You know what I mean? Because we finished Cannon Busters this week to make room for Shaman King. We're starting My Hero this week because we just finished off Free. We're finishing Ruby this week. And so, already finished Ruby, rather. All of this has already been happened because I'm recording this ahead of time, so I'm speaking as if this stuff is still coming, but you guys know it's like, by the time you're watching this, it's already happened. This past week, we finished off all this stuff, including Ruby, which is the last one I was just mentioning. But yeah, so since we finished off everything, I decided let's just finish off ReZero as well. Kind of just make it a full set, you know, and start fresh next week with some new things. I will mention what will be replacing ReZero at the end of the afterthoughts and all. Just because I want to focus on this for right now. But yeah, I am interested to see how this goes with Satella now having arrived. Apparently she's headed towards the mansion, so we're going to see where this goes. Garfield seems to be helping out, Subaru at the moment. So it's going to be interesting. If these last 4 episodes all focus on this as like a little section of this arc, then that would be interesting, and I'd be all for it. But we'll have to see. I am definitely interested to see where this goes, though, and how this first half of the season ends. And yeah, even despite the fact that we'll be taking a break in between the first and second core, we will still obviously be getting back to this because I still enjoy this series, even if it's the weakest arc so far. It's still enjoyable. But anyways, all of that being said, we're going to get this started and hope for the best. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episodes. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, we found out quite a few things in these final 4 episodes of the core. One, Roswell's a piece of shit who is behind everything, and yeah, I mean, we kind of already knew that he was behind a lot of this, that he had set up a lot of shit, and we kind of already knew he was a major villain. But this is like, this goes even beyond that. We find out that Elsa and the other girl, whose name I can't think of right now, are working for him, and that he hired them to go to the mansion and everything. And I assume that means that he was behind Elsa's actions at the beginning of the series too, in season 1. And we know from before that he was behind the attacks on the village and shit. And it's just like, we also found out that Beatrice truly is a spirit created by Echidna, and that she's waiting in the library. She's been waiting for 400 years for some special person, the one, to come for her. And it's caused her massive depression to the point of wanting to die, just wanting it to all be over with. And it's revealed by Echidna that there is no person, there is no the one who's going to come. That she has to decide on her own who that person will be. Who she has to basically create her own destiny with that. In a way, it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, I guess. She has to actually decide herself who is the person, who is that person who she's waiting for. It's all on her, and it's gonna be Subaru. It's obvious, I feel. The question is, how is that going to go down? We did continue to see more with Satella, and truly got to meet her. And we don't know why, but apparently she believes Subaru saved her, and that she's trying to repay the favor, and she truly loves Subaru and is trying to like help him because of it. Like even in these episodes, like she is trying to help him find self-confidence and shit and whatnot. But still, it's like, what the? I feel like there's a lot of context missing, and a lot of context we still need to get. So I guess we'll hopefully find out going forward what her true deal is. So it's kind of hard to say where this series is going now. But we got like a taste of the second trial as well, which seemed to be facing the present. So if the first of the 3 trials was facing the past and the second one was facing the present, the third one's obviously going to be the future. So facing the present and everything in this case was Subaru having to kind of go through all of these different lives he's lived and see like the present of these people living throughout those worlds. Like every time he's died, seeing how everyone reacted to it and everyone's living through it and just having to deal with his death and everything. Getting to see the present moment, the present times of his decisions that he chose in the past lives, which is a really interesting idea, a really interesting way to handle that. Um, but like we see a bunch of different deaths from the first and second season mixed in there, and then we get a taste of Lust's power, though we don't know it at first. We only find that out after he goes to the witch's tea party. Um, so Lust has the ability to she's either turning into these others or she's creating illusions of them. But either way, she turns into both Amelia and Rem and tells Subaru basically what he wants to hear from them without actually properly and rightly imitating them well enough to, well, fool anyone. He could tell that the Amelia that he he met there was a fake because of the things she said, and he could tell because of the way she was saying it that that Rem was a fake too. And it was definitely more obvious, I feel, with the Amelia one for me at least, because it's like Amelia doesn't say those things to Subaru. She likes him, sure, but she's not gonna like go on this like big like thing about loving him and everything. Plus, she wouldn't just be ignoring the fact that he was that gravely injured. Like that was a huge giveaway. And then with Rem, it's like we knew it wasn't her for a couple reasons. One of which being she couldn't be there because of what had happened to her. But even beyond that, even if that wasn't the case, the way she was saying things, yeah, was a little off, which Subaru pointed out. And let's talk about the witches' tea party. So we get to meet truly the other two witches we hadn't met yet. The Witch of Lust, who isn't really given a name unless I missed it, um, and the Witch of Sloth, who's God, what was her name? Sekhmet. That's it. It's like I gotta remember. It's like an Egyptian god. I think it actually is the name of an Egyptian god, so that makes it a little easier to remember. Um, the Witch of Lust is very like timid and emotional. It seems. Definitely, again, different from what you would think the Witch of Lust would be like, because obviously you think of things like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and it's like, yeah, it's a very different portrayal of that seven deadly sin. Um, and then with Sloth, it's just, I guess, more accurate by comparison, because she's just laying there lazily, yawning the entire time. So it's like, yeah, I get how that can represent Sloth. um, but all of the witches definitely represent their sin. That much is very clear, just not always in the ways we automatically would think. Um, so I kind of like that they delve more into like the depths of the sins rather than just the outermost layer of it. It's not just the base understanding of what that sin is. That's interesting. But we definitely see here, we kind of get our confirmation on something I've been wondering. I've kind of been wondering if Echidna could be trusted or not. I was wondering like where her alignment laid. If she was a good guy, if she was neutral, or if she was bad. And we get our answer here. She and all the other witches are bad. Very bad. extremely bad. And it's not a surprise, but we got confirmation. And I'm glad that Subaru in the end wasn't convinced and coerced into forming the contract with her. It almost seemed like for a moment there at the end that he was going to. After he was saved from biting off his tongue and everything and all of that had happened, it seemed like he was actually going to accept it. But no, he didn't. And I'm very glad about that because that could have ended poorly, especially with what she wanted. And the kind of ideals and stuff that the witches were talking about and trying to convince Subaru of is like just twisted as hell. Just completely twisted ideologies that basically mold logic to their will rather than actually looking at what's really the logic of it all. So yeah. Um I'm glad that Subaru instead is like making a promise to form a bond and a contract with Beatrice. Because let's be honest, she needs that. And honestly, I think that would be cool. Honestly, for him and Beatrice to have a pact formed, like kind of like how Amelia and Puck do. That would be pretty cool. And we've seen now how Beatrice can fight, so we know she can definitely like work as a combative spirit to help Subaru out. Um, and let's mention that real quick. So Beatrice, I mentioned earlier in the season, like when we were talking about her and everything, that I really liked what they were doing with her, like giving her more character, more depth, more emotion, and that was definitely continued on here. And it's like I used her in um my channel banner and everything just because even in season one I did very much like her. I thought she was funny and enjoyable and very entertaining as a character. But she's honestly rising to be one of my favorite characters of this series by far. Like more so than ever before. Um and if they keep playing this season out in this kind of way, she could easily become my actual favorite, beating out the likes of Rem. So, or even Felix, like that would be amazing because of how much I love Felix. We'll have to see how that goes, though. Um, as for how this ended, how this closed off the first core of the series, I'm I'm okay with it because the witches' tea party was a massive thing and it was just this huge deal. But the actual way the last episode there ended was a little underwhelming, I guess, because it didn't feel like a closure. It didn't feel like an ending. It felt like, oh, we're just really getting started here. It's like this arc is continuing, this storyline is continuing, and it's like, okay, why not? I mean, again, a lot of big revelations, a lot of like really big moments in the end there with finding out just how fucked up Roswell is, and again, the witch's tea party and all of that, and even Otto coming to smack some sense into Subaru, literally. And that's all well and good, but again, it just the way it ended felt like just kind of another episode ending. But I mean, I guess maybe they weren't necessarily planning to have the season split up into two halves like this. That was probably unintentional and just happened because of COVID and everything. So I'm not like upset by the choice or anything. It's just it's I can imagine how it was for some people just kind of ending off there and having to wait months and months for the next part. And mind you, like I said in the pre-thoughts, we're kind of doing the same thing. We are going to be taking a break from ReZero just to kind of refresh things and make it so that we get to the second half of the season with a fresh mind and just ready to take all of that in. Because this is a series that is really heavy all the time. So I feel like it's better to take a break in the middle here. I just feel like it's going to help. Um, so we'll be watching a series in the meantime, and then coming back to ReZero afterwards. Um, and unlike with the other shows, like I said, I think I said it in a recent video, but unlike with the other shows, like where I had to put off Pandora Hearts and Digimon again for a little longer because of My Hero and Shaman King starting up, we are going to be getting right back to ReZero after our next show because there's not going to be anything else starting up, so there's nothing else in the direct way of getting right back to it. So, I guess now is time for the big reveal. What is going to be replacing ReZero for the time being uh, between the first and second half of season 2? I've decided on a series that I've been wanting to check out, but I definitely wanted to react to specifically, so I've been holding off on it. And I've chosen this series, and it may be one that kind of seems like it's coming out of nowhere for some of you, but for those who know me and know my kind of interests, you might know like, oh yeah, like this is definitely my kind of show, or at least this sounds like it's going to be. I don't know how the quality of the show is actually going to be. Um, so yeah, we're going to be checking out Blood of Zeus, the Netflix original animation from the same people, I believe, who worked on Castlevania. And from the little bit I've seen of the visuals, it definitely looks like it's by the same people as Castlevania. Um, yeah, for those who may not know, just as a note, I am pretty much I cannot speak. I'm a pretty big fan of Greek mythology. I've always been a big fan of the Greek pantheon and whatnot, and just the kind of lore behind. I've never like looked like super deep into it. I've never like really delved into like a shit ton of it. But I've always liked what I have seen. Like I love the Odyssey and the Iliad. I have the movie Troy on DVD. I love the game Hades. And it's mostly through stuff like that, through reading stories here and there, watching some movies, playing some games. Um, but I just love the mythology. I love, again, the pantheon of gods, from Zeus to Hades to Aphrodite and Dionysus. Um, and I just think it's a really fascinating mythology. And I'm very interested to see how Blood of Zeus portrays it. I don't know anything going into it, but I'll talk more about that when we actually get to the reaction next week. Yeah, but I don't know anything going into it about like the actual story of the show. Ugh, excuse me. So we'll just have to kind of see what it's like as we go. And if for some reason I really don't like it and decide to drop it, we'll figure something else out. Um, but again, I'll get to all of that in more detail when we actually get to next week's first reaction. Um, excuse me. But like I said, after we take a break, we will come back to ReZero, continue on with the second half of season 2, and see where this goes. I hope you all have been enjoying my reactions to ReZero, and I would love to hear your thoughts on these final 4 episodes of the first half of season 2. Tell me what you thought of the Witch's Tea Party, of just Satella being really introduced into this series, of Roswaal being a psychopath, all of that jazz. And thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.